Hello everyone, it's Wilson here. Today, let's continue to look at limit problems. And this time we are going to look at a one-sided limit here. And so as you can see, the function is a rational function. We actually have been doing a lot of videos of limits of rational functions. The reason for why I'm doing so many of those is really because we can run into all kinds of situations. There are so many situations that we can run into when we are doing limit problems with rational functions. Okay, so now, for this one, if you plug the -3 into the function, as you can see here, that this factor is the factor that's approaching 0, as you can see, right? Because x is approaching -3, and then this factor is x plus 3, so that's approaching 0. But as you can see that the numerator is not going to be approaching 0 because we have x here, and then we have x minus 1. So when x is approaching -3, x is just approaching -3, and then x minus 1 is approaching -4. And so you can see that the numerator is not approaching 0. This is a typical example of an infinite limit. And so you know that the answer is going to be either infinity or -infinity. The question is it infinity or -infinity? That's what we need to find out. So let's get started on this problem. So we are going to just look at each factor right now and see what's going on. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to write here. So let's just break the problem into pieces, right? And then we can take a look at each factors and see what's going on. So as x approaching -3 from the left side, right? So that means this quantity, okay, so let me just point that out. X is going to be less than -3, right? Because it's approaching -3 from the left side. And so what happens is that when we look at each factor here, because it's already being put in the factor form, then we are actually going to be getting what? So let's see. So we can see that this x is approaching -3. It's not something that we need to worry about because it's just talking about the same factor. Now, what about x minus 1? X minus 1 is approaching, okay, so let me use a different color here, x minus 1. In this case, it's approaching what? -3 minus 1, then that's actually approaching -4. Okay, so that's one of those. And the other one is the other factor, that's x minus 2. So let's just look at x minus 2 here. And when x is approaching -3, then we have this factor approaching -3 minus 2. And so that's approaching -5. Okay, so now we have those ones. And then this is the one that we need to worry about the most, which is the x plus 3. And so for x plus 3, you can see that then when you plug this, when you replace the x by -3 right here, as you can see, it's actually -3 with a minus sign and then plus 3. And so just think about this. If we have x approaching -3 from the left side, that means this number right here, whatever sequence that we choose, that we approach -3 from the left side, all those numbers in the sequence would be what? Would be less than -3. Okay, so that will be less than -3. You just need to think about an example of that such sequence is what? If you look at that, then it actually looks like what? Negative. It's on the left side of the -3, so -3.1, -3.05, -3.01, -3.005, -3.001, and so on, right? As you can see here. So now if you take any of those numbers and you add the 3 to it, and then as you can see, it's actually approaching 0. But now it would be approaching 0 from the left, because if you take anything, right, whose absolute value is greater than 3, but all those numbers are negative, and when you add those numbers to the 3, you are going to be getting a negative number. So this factor is approaching 0 from the left. And that means whatever number that you're getting, it's going to be a negative number. And so now going back to the original problem here. Going back to the original problem, then we are going to be getting what? This is approaching -3, so we get the -3 right here. And then The one with the x minus 1 is approaching -4, so we are going to be getting the -4 over there. Okay, keep going. Now let's go down to the denominator. We have the x minus 2. X minus 2 is approaching -5. So, and then the one that we have for the x plus 3 is what? It's approaching 0 from the left. Okay. So now if you just put the numbers together, you can see that that's close to -3 and that's close to -4. When you multiply them together, remember they're both negative numbers, so you are going to get the numerator approaching positive 12. Then you may say, what about the bottom? If one factor is approaching 0, right? And so the numerator is going to get arbitrarily small. So even when you multiply by a 5 or -5, it's still approaching 0, right? And so in that case, we need to figure out what happens to the sign. So you can see that that's a negative number. That's also a negative number. When you multiply two negative numbers together, you are going to be getting a positive number. And so we are getting what? 0 from the right. So that means the denominator is approaching 0 from the right. And as you can see here, the numerator and the denominator are both what? Positive. So that means what? That means the limit, right? Remember, we already mentioned that the limit is either positive infinity or negative infinity. So in this case, because the numerator is positive, the denominator is positive, then the final answer will just be positive. Okay, the limit does not exist, but we can actually see where the function is heading, right? The function, when x is approaching -3 from the left, the function is actually the y values of the function is approaching infinity. Okay, so that's it for this problem. If you like this video, please give me a like, subscribe my channel, and share my videos to others. It will give me support to make more videos. If you have questions or have a topic that you want me to talk about, please leave me a comment. Thank you for watching.